Hello, everyone, and welcome back. In our previous session, we completed the detailed discussion on water soluble vitamins, the B complex, and vitamin C. Today, we are shifting gears to begin a brand new chapter in nutritional biochemistry, the fat soluble vitamins. This is part one of our four-part series. Uh, Over the next several lectures, we will cover vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, and vitamin K. In this session, we will focus entirely on vitamin D, often called as sunshine vitamin. We will explore its sources, daily requirements, its unique forms, metabolism, regulation, and its critical biological functions. So let's begin. This is our title slide for today, Vitamin D lecture in our fat soluble vitamin series. Let's get started with our learning objectives. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to enlist the dietary sources and daily requirement of the vitamin D, enlist the different forms of vitamin D, describe the metabolism and its regulation, and enlist the functions of vitamin D. So now these objectives will guide our discussion, right? Let's start with the most important sources, right? Approximately 90% of the vitamin D is produced endogenously, meaning inside our own bodies, specifically in the skin. When ultraviolet B light from sunshine hits the skin, it triggers the synthesis of a vitamin D precursor. This precursor then travels to the liver and kidneys to be activated. So, sunlight is truly the primary source. The remaining 10% comes from our diet. The best natural dietary sources are limited but potent. These include fish liver oil like cod liver oil, fatty acid of fatty fish, uh, egg yolk, and liver from various animals. This is why individuals with limited sun exposure needs to be mindful of their dietary intake. Now, what is the daily requirement or the recommended daily allowance of vitamin D? For healthy adults, both male and female, the recommendation is 400 international units or IU per day. However, this requirement increases to 600 international per day, 600 international units per day for specific populations with higher needs, like growing children, adults over the age of 50, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. These groups should pay special attention to their vitamin D status. Next is the form of or different forms of vitamin D. Let's talk about the endogenous vitamin precursor. Vitamin D exists in different forms. First, the endogenous precursor found in our skin, a molecule called 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is actually an intermediate in cholesterol synthesis. That molecule is converted to cholecalciferol when human skin is exposed to sunlight. This is a natural sunlight-driven pathway. Second, we have forms or other forms obtained from the diet. There are of two types of preformed vitamin D are of two types. The very first one is the ergocalciferol or vitamin D2, which is found in plants and fungi. Second one is the cholecalciferol or vitamin D3 that is found in animal tissue. So, a critical note here. Ergocalciferol, the D2, is not absorbed as well as the vitamin D3. So, it is generally considered of less nutritional importance. Also remember that preformed vitamin D from diet becomes a true requirement only in individuals with the limited exposure to the sunlight. Now we move to the metabolism. This slide simply outlines our next two major topics, the formation of the active form of vitamin D and the regulation of that process. Let's dive into the biochemistry. Let's talk about the biologically active form, the calcidiol or calcidiol synthesis in liver. The biologically active form of vitamin D is called calcitriol. That is vitamin D3. That is biologically active form of vitamin D. It is synthesized in two key organs. The very first one is the liver and second one is the kidney. Step one. Step one happens in the liver. D2 or D3 binds to a specific vitamin D binding protein and is transported to the liver. Inside liver cells, the enzyme 25 hydroxylase adds a hydroxyl group to the 25th carbon group or 25th carbon position. The product is 25 hydroxy calciferol, cholecalciferol, also known as calcidiol, that is vitamin D2. This is the predominant form of vitamin D found in your blood and serve as a major storage form. Step 2 occurs in the kidneys. Calcidiol is again bound to the vitamin D binding protein and transported to the kidneys. Here, the enzyme hydroxylase or 1-hydroxylase adds another hydroxyl group, this time at the number 1 carbon. The final product is 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol, which is calcitriol, the active hormonal form of vitamin D. This slide simply shows the sequential hydroxylation step. First, add carbon 25 in the liver, then the carbon 1 in the kidneys to produce the active form, the beautiful 2 steps activation pathway. Now, let's discuss the regulation of vitamin D or D3. The formation of calcitriol is not random. It is tightly regulated by the levels of plasma phosphate and calcium ions. Specifically, low plasma phosphate levels directly stimulate the 1-hydroxylase enzyme. Low plasma calcium levels act indirectly by triggering the release of parathormone or parathyroid hormone or PTH, which then regulates the or upregulates the same 1-hydroxylase enzyme in the kidneys. The result would be more active calcitriol is produced to restore calcium and phosphate balance. Here, a critically important note. PTH, parathyroid hormone, does not increase the absorption of calcium from the intestine. Only active vitamin D, the calcitriol, performs the specific function. PTH, parathyroid hormone or parathormone, acts on bone and kidney, but it needs vitamin D to complete the job of remaining blood calcium via intestinal absorption. This slide mentions calcitonin, while not detailed here. Remember that calcitonin is another calcium regulating hormone from the thyroid gland. Its role is generally opposite to the parathyroid hormone, but vitamin D remains the key player for intestinal calcium absorption. Finally, let's discuss the functions. Because calcitriol is synthesized in the body and acts like a steroid hormone, it is now regulated as a hormone, and vitamin D is considered its prohormone. The primary role of 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol is to maintain adequate plasma calcium levels. It achieves this through 3 mechanisms. The very first one is increasing the uptake of calcium by the intestine. This is its most important function. Second one, minimizing the loss of calcium from the kidneys, reducing its excretion. And the number 3 is stimulating the resorption of bone when dietary calcium is insufficient, releasing calcium from the skeleton into the blood. This slide was a placeholder for diagram, but conceptually, remember that all three target organs, intestine, kidney, and bone, work in uh, work in concert to maintain calcium homeostasis. This lengthy slide, or this slide, actually or simply reinforces the details we have already covered. Now, let's discuss the vitamin D deficiency, right? Vitamin D deficiency causes demineralization of bones. In children, that leads to rickets, and in adults, in young women, that leads to osteomalacia, and in old age, that leads to osteoporosis. And this final slide is a fun reminder. Let's make some D, meaning get safe sun exposure, understand your dietary needs, and appreciate the remarkable biochemistry that converts the cholesterol derivative in your skin into a powerful hormone-like regulator of calcium balance. Let's quickly summarize today's lecture on vitamin D. Sources, let's talk about the sources. 90% from the sunlight in the skin, 10% from the diet. Daily requirement, 400 international units for adults, male and female, both, and 600 international units for children, elderly, pregnant, and lactating women. Different forms of vitamin D, ergocalciferol and cholecalciferol. Ergocalciferol, the D2, plant source, plant origin, and cholecalciferol, the D3, the animal source, animal origin, with D3 being most or more bioavailable, right? Let's talk about the metabolism. Liver converts vitamin D to calcidiol, 25-hydroxycholecalciferol. Kidneys convert the calcidiol to active form, that is calcitriol, that is 125-dihydroxycholecalciferol. Now, the regulation, low plasma phosphate and low calcium via parathyroid hormone upregulate the 1-hydroxylase enzyme in the kidneys. The functions, calcitriol acts as a hormone to increase intestinal calcium absorption, reduce kidney calcium, calcium loss, and stimulate bone resorption when needed. Vitamin D is essential not just for bones, but for overall cellular health. In our next session, we will continue the fat-soluble vitamin series with part 2, that would be vitamin A. We will discuss its role in vision, gene expression, and immunity. Thank you very much. If you found this lecture helpful, please like this video, share it with your classmates, and subscribe to the channel for more biochemistry deep dives. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in the next session.